I never thought I'd be the type of guy to write my feelings down like this, especially not about something so personal. But here I am, pouring my heart out, trying to make sense of everything that's happened. My name is Matt, and I was married to Emily for over 6 years. We had what I thought was a solid marriage, shared dreams, a cute little house in the suburbs, and even a golden retriever named Buddy. But lately, things felt off. It started slowly, like a crack in the foundation of a building that you ignore until it threatens to collapse. I'll be honest, I had been noticing some changes in Emily's behavior. At first, I attributed it to stress at work. She's an architect and deadlines can be brutal. But as time went on, her late nights became more frequent and her texts seemed overly guarded. She'd be on her phone constantly, typing away and then quickly putting it down whenever I entered the room. I'd ask her about it and she'd give me the same tired excuse. Just work stuff, babe. We have a big project coming up. I wanted to believe her, but a nagging feeling in my gut told me something was wrong. Then there was the day I stumbled upon the countdown app on her phone. I was just being nosy, scrolling through her apps while she was in the shower. I saw this strange countdown clock ticking down from something like 15 days and I felt my heart drop. What the hell was that about? As I scrolled through her phone, I found messages that made my blood run cold. Texts filled with flirty emojis and inside jokes that I knew nothing about. My hands shook as I read them. The last message read, "Can't wait for the weekend, just a little longer." I felt sick. I couldn't breathe. All the signs I had ignored suddenly came rushing back to me. I had to confront her. I knew I would explode with questions and anger, but I needed to hear it from her mouth. I put the phone down, heart racing, and waited for her to come out of the shower. When she did, her hair was wet and she looked beautiful as she always did, but my heart was in turmoil. "Emily, we need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She looked at me, brows furrowing in concern. "Is everything okay?" she asked, her eyes darting to the phone I had just been holding. "No, everything is not okay. What's this countdown app on your phone?" I blurted out, frustration bubbling over. She looked at me, her expression shifting from confusion to irritation. "Really, Matt, you're going to snoop through my phone now? That's rich." I pressed on, refusing to back down. "You're avoiding my question. What's the countdown for?" Her eyes narrowed, and for a moment I could see her calculating her response. "It's nothing, just a stupid thing for a project. You know how I get with deadlines." "Stop lying to me, Emily. I saw the messages. Who's this guy?" Her face went pale and I felt a surge of rage. The betrayal was raw, like a fresh wound. She opened her mouth to speak but hesitated. "It's not what you think, Matt, I swear." But nothing she could say would take away the sinking realization that the woman I loved might have been lying to me for who knows how long. I felt like I was losing my grasp on reality. As the confrontation unfolded, she gave me excuses, none of them adding up. "I was just having fun. You've been so distant." The blame shifted onto me and I felt a mix of anger and betrayal. How could she turn this around on me? My heart felt heavy as I realized the depth of her deceit. I was angry, sad, and completely heartbroken all at once. I loved her, but I felt like a fool for trusting her. The emotional impact was overwhelming. I went from shock to rage, and then to a deep sadness that I had never experienced before. I felt like I was losing not just my wife, but also my best friend, the person who had been my partner in everything. What was I going to do next? The countdown app ticked down in my mind, reminding me that time was running out for our marriage. I needed to gather my thoughts and decide how to move forward from this devastating moment. The days that followed the confrontation felt like a surreal blur. I hardly slept, my mind racing with images of Emily and the betrayal I had discovered. The anger inside me simmered, but it was the sadness that weighed heavily on my chest. How could she do this? Why did she let it get to this point? I kept replaying her excuses in my head, trying to find a shred of truth in her words. But the more I thought about it, the more my heart shattered. Emily and I had built a life together, and now it felt like it was crumbling before my eyes. I started noticing little things around the house that reminded me of our happier times: photos from vacations, our wedding album tucked away on the shelf, and Buddy trying to cheer me up with his goofy antics. But I was in no mood for comfort. I felt like I was trapped in a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. Eventually, I had to confront the reality of our situation. I couldn't let myself be consumed by the hurt, especially not with the countdown still ticking in my mind. It was time to find out the truth behind the countdown app and what exactly had been going on behind my back. I decided to do something I never thought I'd do. I would investigate. The first step was to gather more evidence. I had already seen the text messages, but I needed more. I needed to know who this guy was and what their relationship really looked like. So I took a deep breath, steeled myself, and started stalking her social media accounts. I scoured through her friends list, looking for any potential suspects. It didn't take long before I came across a name that sent my heart racing and blood boiling. Jake. A college friend of hers who had always been a little too flirty, even when she was with me. The realization hit me hard. How long had this been going on? I dug deeper. I looked through old photos, tagged posts, anything that could give me a glimpse into their connection. What I found was chilling: photos of Emily and Jake at a bar, laughing too close for comfort. Another one of them hiking together, and she wore a smile that I hadn't seen directed at me in weeks. That's when I found the messages on her Instagram, direct messages that felt intimate and personal. Can't wait for the weekend getaway, one read. You make me feel alive, another. My stomach twisted in knots. I felt like an outsider peering into a world that was supposed to be mine. I spent hours in that obsessive spiral, piecing together the timeline of their affair in my head. I could feel the rage bubbling back up within me. I had to confront her again, but this time, it would be different. I wouldn't let her brush me off with excuses. I needed to make her see the weight of what she was doing, and that I was no longer the naive husband willing to believe her lies. Finally, the day came when Emily walked in from work looking exhausted. I knew it was now or never. "Emily, we need to talk again." I tried to keep my voice steady, but I could feel the tension crackling in the air. "What now, Matt? I told you I was busy at work," she replied, her tone dismissive. She was clearly still on the defensive, and I felt my anger flare up. "I found out who Jake is. I saw the messages, Emily. You need to tell me the truth." Her expression shifted from annoyance to concern, but I could see the panic behind her eyes. "Matt, it's not what you think. We're just friends." "Friends? You call that flirting? You're telling me that you have a friend who you go on weekend getaways with? I think it's time to stop lying." Her silence was deafening. I watched as she processed my words, and for the first time I didn't see the woman I loved. I saw someone who had betrayed me. "Okay, maybe I did flirt a little," she admitted finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "But it didn't mean anything." "Didn't mean anything? You're telling me that while I'm at home, trusting you, you're out there playing house with someone else. You think this is just some little fling?" She shifted uncomfortably, and I could see the facade of her confidence cracking. "I didn't want to hurt you, Matt. I thought I could handle it, keep it under control." "Handle it? Emily, this isn't some game. You've been cheating on me, and you think that's okay?" As the words left my mouth, I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal crash over me like a tidal wave. I knew in that moment that things would never be the same. This wasn't just a bump in the road. It was a chasm that had opened up between us, and I didn't know if we could ever bridge it. Emily's tears flowed freely now, but I was too far gone in my own emotions to care. I felt like I was talking to a stranger. The woman I thought I knew, the woman I loved, had vanished, leaving behind someone who had betrayed every vow we had made. "I don't know what to do now, Matt," she murmured, her voice breaking as she sank onto the couch. "Neither do I, but know this. The countdown isn't just on that app, it's on our marriage too. I refuse to be a fool anymore." With that, I stormed out of the room, the hurt and anger churning inside me. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I had to make a choice. Would I fight for our marriage or walk away from the pain? The countdown had begun, and I needed to figure out my next steps before it hit zero. After the confrontation, my mind was a whirlwind of chaos. I paced the house like a caged animal, feeling trapped by the weight of Emily's betrayal. There were so many thoughts swirling in my head, and I couldn't seem to latch onto just one. I was angry, yes, but beneath that anger lay a profound sense of sadness, an annoying feeling of betrayal that I couldn't shake off. I felt like I was on shaky ground, and each step I took only deepened the cracks in my heart. I spent the next few days in a daze. Emily tried to reach out to talk, but every time she approached me, the anger resurfaced and I pushed her away. I couldn't look at her without feeling a surge of betrayal. I needed space to think, to process what had happened. I began to question everything about our relationship. Was any of it real? Did she ever love me, or was I just another chapter in her life? The uncertainty gnawed at me, and the incessant ticking of that metaphorical countdown echoed in my mind. I had to make a decision, but I couldn't figure out what I wanted. Did I still love her? Part of me wanted to believe that we could work through this, but another part of me screamed that I couldn't go back to the way things were. I reached out to my best friend, Derek, who was always a voice of reason. I needed someone outside of the situation to help me gain perspective. When we met up, I poured my heart out, recounting everything that had happened. Derek listened intently, nodding with understanding. "Dude, that's brutal, but you need to ask yourself what you want. Can you trust her again?" He asked, his voice serious. "I don't know, man. I thought I knew her. I thought we had something real, but now I feel like I've been living a lie. How do I go back from that?" "I get it. It's not something you just brush off. You've got to take care of yourself first. Whatever decision you make has to be what's best for you." His words hit me hard. I had been so focused on Emily's actions that I had neglected myself. I realized I needed to take the time to reflect on what I truly wanted, to think about my happiness. That evening, I came home, feeling a sliver of clarity. Emily was in the living room, her eyes puffy from crying. She looked up when I entered and opened her mouth to speak, but I held up my hand to stop her. "I don't want to talk right now. I just need some time to think," I said, trying to keep my composure. "Matt, please," she began, but I cut her off again. "No, I need space to process everything that's happened. I need to figure out what I want." She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks as I walked past her. I could see the pain in her eyes, but I was too raw to care. I needed to focus on myself. Days turned into a week, and during that time I tried to take care of myself. I hit the gym, went for long runs, and even picked up a few books that had been gathering dust on my shelf. I found solace in the routine, something to distract my mind from the emotional turmoil. It was during one of these runs that it finally hit me. I could either spend my life in resentment and anger, or I could choose to move forward, whatever that looked like. I realized I needed to have one more conversation with Emily. I needed to lay everything out on the table and see if there was any hope left for us. I wasn't sure if I could forgive her, but I needed to know if she was willing to fight for our marriage. When I finally sat down with her again, the tension in the room was palpable. "Emily, I've thought a lot about our situation," I began. "I can't pretend that this didn't happen. I'm hurt and I don't know if I can trust you again." "I understand, Matt. I messed up," she said, her voice trembling. "I never wanted to hurt you. I don't know why I let it go this far. I love you and I want to make this right." "Do you really mean that, or is it just the guilt talking?" "I mean it. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to fix this. I'll go to counseling, whatever you need. Just give me a chance," she pleaded, desperation evident in her eyes. I studied her face, searching for any hint of insincerity. Part of me wanted to believe her, but the other part was still reeling from the betrayal. "You have to understand, trust isn't just given. It has to be earned back, and that's going to take time. I don't know if I'm ready to forgive you, but I'm willing to try if you are." "Thank you, Matt. I'll do everything I can to show you that I can be trusted again. I promise." As she spoke, I saw a flicker of hope, but I also felt the weight of reality pressing down on me. The road ahead would be long and difficult, and I couldn't expect things to magically fix themselves. But I also knew that I couldn't keep dragging this pain with me. The countdown wasn't just about time. It was about the opportunity to rebuild and find out if we could salvage what was left of our marriage. The coming weeks would determine whether we could mend the cracks or if the foundation of our relationship was beyond repair. I'd have to navigate my feelings carefully, balancing anger and love, hurt and hope. I was scared, but I was ready to take the first step toward healing, whatever that might look like. Over the next few weeks, I committed to the painful process of rebuilding trust with Emily. It felt like walking on a tightrope, swaying precariously between hope and despair. Emily was eager to show how much she wanted to fix things. She went out of her way to be transparent, leaving her phone unlocked and openly discussing her whereabouts. I had never seen her so dedicated to our relationship, yet every time I saw her phone light up with a notification, a knot twisted in my stomach. I was attending counseling sessions, both individually and together. I thought it would help us define our feelings and expectations moving forward. My therapist was kind and patient, encouraging me to express my emotions without holding back. I'd often leave sessions feeling lighter, but as soon as I returned home, the heaviness would settle back in. Emily, for her part, seemed genuinely remorseful. She was doing everything she could to prove her commitment. She planned date nights, prepared dinner, and even surprised me with little notes of encouragement. But with every act of kindness, I couldn't shake the feeling that they were attempts to cover up the wound rather than truly heal it. I needed to process my feelings, but I was stuck in this emotional tug-of-war, alternating between moments of connection and waves of distrust. One evening, after a particularly good week filled with laughter and positive moments, we sat on the couch, sipping wine and watching our favorite show. It felt almost normal again, but in the back of my mind, a part of me was still haunted by jealousy. I couldn't help but wonder if she was texting Jake, even if just to keep up appearances. As I wrestled with these thoughts, I felt a surge of anxiety. "Emily, can I ask you something?" I said slowly, unsure of how to frame my question without sounding accusatory. "Sure, anything," she replied, her tone light and casual. "Do you think about him? I mean, do you think about Jake when we're together?" Her demeanor shifted. She looked down at her glass, swirling the wine as if searching for an answer at the bottom. "Honestly, yes," she admitted softly. My heart sank. "I don't want to hurt you, but I think about everything that happened. I know it's wrong. I wish I could just erase it from my mind." I swallowed hard, feeling like a punch had landed in my gut. "You can't just erase it, Emily. It's part of our story now. It's going to take time for me to trust you, and I need to know you're fully committed to us, not still caught up in whatever you had with him." "I am committed," she insisted, her voice steady. "I want this to work. I'm willing to do the work. I just need you to give me a chance." The conversation left me reeling. I felt a mixture of anger and sadness, but I also sensed a flicker of determination within me. I realized that I had to face my feelings head-on instead of burying them. So the next day, I reached out to Derek again, needing his perspective. "Dude, I'm having a hard time. Some days it feels like we're making progress, but then other moments hit me like a tidal wave. I don't know how much longer I can handle this emotional roller coaster," I confessed over coffee. "You're doing better than you think, Matt," he reassured me. "You're facing your feelings and not running from them. That's a step in the right direction. Just remember, healing isn't linear. It's messy and unpredictable." His words reminded me that I had to embrace the messiness of my emotions. I could still love Emily and be hurt by her actions simultaneously. I needed to allow myself to feel without guilt. But despite my determination to work through the pain, I couldn't shake the idea of Jake. The way Emily spoke about him, so casually, like he had been a mere distraction rather than an affair, made me feel like I was always in the shadows. I had to confront that part of our reality head-on. One night while we were sitting on the porch together, I took a deep breath. "Emily, I think I need to meet him," I said, surprising even myself. She blinked at me in disbelief. "What, Matt, are you serious?" "I am. I can't keep feeling this anxiety about what you had with him. I need closure. I need to see what he's like. You talked a lot about how you felt with him, but I want to understand it from your perspective." Emily hesitated, a flicker of panic in her eyes. "I don't think that's a good idea. Meeting him won't change anything. It'll just make things worse." "But it's what I need," I insisted, my voice steady. "If we're going to move forward, I need to face this head-on. I can't live in the shadows, always wondering what he has that I don't." We spent the next few days discussing it, Emily still reluctant but eventually agreeing that it might help with the healing process. I could see the apprehension in her eyes, but she also knew I had to take control of my feelings. The following weekend, we arranged to meet Jake at a coffee shop that was midway between our places. I could feel my heart racing as the day approached. I wanted to appear confident, but inside I was battling a storm of emotions: fear, anger, and a haunting sense of betrayal. When the day finally came, I arrived early to get my bearings. I wanted to be ready for whatever confrontation lay ahead. I sat at a small table near the window, watching people pass by, trying to distract myself from the anxiety bubbling inside me. When Emily and Jake walked in together, my heart sank. Jake was tall, with an ease about him that made me instantly dislike him. He had that casual charm that made it easy for people to feel comfortable, and it made my skin crawl to see Emily smile at him. But I remembered Derek's words. This was my healing process. I had to face my fears. As they approached, I stood up to greet them, forcing a smile. "Hey, thanks for meeting me here," I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. "Matt," Jake said, extending his hand to shake mine. "It's good to finally meet you." "Yeah," I replied, my voice strained. "You too." We all sat down, and I could feel the tension in the air. I took a deep breath, diving straight into the conversation. "I think we need to talk about what happened between you and Emily." Jake nodded, looking aware of the weight in the air. "I understand that. I'm sorry for what happened. I never intended to hurt you." I glanced at Emily, who sat silently, her expression a mix of regret and fear. "I know it's complicated, but I want to understand your side of things. How did it get to this point?" As the conversation unfolded, I felt the intensity of my emotions ebb and flow like the tide. I watched as Emily grappled with her guilt while Jake tried to explain his role in the affair. I realized that this encounter was more than just about revenge or anger. It was a crucial step in my journey toward healing. The more we talked, the clearer it became that this was as much about Emily's choices as it was about Jake's willingness to pursue her. I felt the anger dissipate as I came to terms with the fact that they had both made mistakes. But as I sat there, listening to the two of them, I realized that the real question was not about what had happened between them, but rather what I wanted for myself. It was a turning point for me, a moment of clarity. I could choose to hold on to the hurt or embrace the uncertainty of moving forward. As we wrapped up our conversation, I looked at Emily, my heart heavy but resolute. "I think I'm ready to start fresh, but you need to understand that it's going to take time. We have a long road ahead of us, and we have to be honest with one another every step of the way." Emily nodded, tears in her eyes. "I'll do whatever it takes, Matt, I promise." As we left that coffee shop, I felt a shift within me. I still had a long way to go, but the encounter was a necessary step in the healing process. I was no longer just a victim in this story. I was taking control of my narrative and moving toward a future that held the possibility of healing and growth, one step at a time. The weeks following the coffee shop meeting with Jake were filled with a mixture of hope and trepidation. I had come to terms with the reality of my situation, and although I was still processing the enormity of Emily's betrayal, I was determined to move forward. It was an emotional balancing act. Every day presented its own challenges, and some days were better than others. Emily and I continued attending therapy sessions. Together, we explored the underlying issues that had contributed to her infidelity. There were fleeting moments of connection, laughter, and warmth, but they were often punctuated by reminders of the hurt that lay between us. I struggled to let go of the past, and the memories of her betrayal had a way of creeping back in when I least expected it. One night, as we sat on the couch together, I decided to broach the subject of the future. "Emily, I think we need to talk about what our goals are moving forward. What does rebuilding our relationship look like for you?" She looked thoughtful, her brow furrowing as she considered her answer. "I want to be transparent with you, Matt. I want us to communicate better and not let anything fester. I want to be the partner you deserve." I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "I appreciate that, but I need you to understand something. I'm still hurt. I'm still processing everything, and it's not easy for me." "I know," she said, her voice soft, "but I need you to give me the chance to prove that I can be trustworthy again. I won't let you down." I wanted to believe her, but doubt remained like a shadow, lurking in the corners of my mind. I needed to see tangible changes, actions that would align with her promises. As we moved through the following weeks, I decided to start incorporating small boundaries to help rebuild trust. I suggested we share our calendars, allowing each other to see our schedules and plans. It was a way to create transparency and accountability, and Emily was on board immediately. "Of course," "That sounds great," she said, excitement evident in her voice. We began to share more about our daily lives, and I found solace in the simplicity of those moments. I still felt an undercurrent of anxiety, but gradually I noticed an easing of the tension that had once dominated our interactions. Then came a turning point. On a Wednesday evening, Emily returned home with dinner from my favorite restaurant. She had picked up some dessert as well, cheesecake, my all-time favorite. As she set the table, I felt a flicker of joy. We sat down to eat and the atmosphere was light and comfortable. "Wow, this is amazing. I can't believe you remembered," I said, genuinely surprised. "I'm trying to be more attentive to what you love. It's the little things that matter, right?" She replied, smiling. As we enjoyed our meal, I felt something shift within me. For the first time in a while, I allowed myself to enjoy the present. We reminisced about our favorite memories together, laughing over inside jokes and sharing stories that reminded us of happier times. It felt almost normal, and I found myself relaxing in her presence as the evening wore on. But just as I was beginning to feel hopeful, my phone buzzed on the table, snapping me back to reality. It was a text from Derek. "Hey man, just checking in. How are things going with you and Emily?" I quickly responded, sharing a brief update on our progress. But as I typed, I felt a pang of guilt. Was I really moving forward, or was I just pretending? I looked up at Emily, who was now scrolling through her phone, and the knot of anxiety returned. "Everything okay?" she asked, sensing my shift in energy. "Yeah, just texting Derek," I replied, forcing a smile. "He wants to know how we're doing." "Oh, okay," she said, her voice casual, but I noticed a flicker of unease in her eyes. "Are you still thinking about Jake?" I asked, the question slipping out before I could stop it. She sighed, putting her phone down. "Matt, I'm trying to focus on us, but I can't pretend that it didn't happen. I think about it sometimes, but I want to put it behind us." "Do you think you're really doing that?" I pressed. "Because it feels like you still have one foot in that past." The conversation took a serious turn and the tension returned. "I know it's complicated, but I genuinely want this to work. I don't want to lose you," she said, her voice strained. "And I don't want to lose you either, but I need to know that you're fully committed. No more secrets, no more lingering feelings," I replied, my heart racing. "I'm ready to let go of the past, Matt. Please believe me. I want to be here for you in every way, and I know I've messed up. I just need you to trust me again." As she spoke, I saw sincerity in her eyes. I could feel my defenses starting to crack, but I also knew that trust was not easily rebuilt. It required consistency and vulnerability from both of us. That night, as we prepared for bed, I felt a wave of exhaustion wash over me. I climbed into bed, my thoughts racing. I had to find a way to let go of my fears and embrace the possibility of healing, even if it felt foreign. The next morning, I decided to take a bold step. I reached for my phone and sent a message to Jake. "Hey, can we meet up again? I need to talk." It was a moment that felt both empowering and terrifying. I wanted to confront the situation head-on, not just for my sake, but for Emily's as well. I needed to know where things stood and ensure that we were all on the same page moving forward. As I awaited his response, I felt a mix of anticipation and dread. I was committed to rebuilding my relationship with Emily, but I couldn't ignore the reality of the situation. I was determined to face the truth, even if it meant reliving some of the pain. The countdown wasn't just about the time lost, it was an opportunity for clarity and resolution. I was ready to take the next step toward healing, and I hoped that by confronting Jake again, I could finally put the past behind us and fully invest in the future we had yet to build. As I awaited Jake's response, my heart drummed nervously in my chest. I had no idea how he would react to my request, but I knew I needed closure. I wanted to move forward, and part of that required me to confront the reality of what had transpired. A few hours later, Jake replied, "Sure, let's meet. How about the same coffee shop?" I felt a mix of relief and dread. The familiarity of that place brought back memories of our previous conversation, and I knew this would be a pivotal moment in my journey toward healing. When I arrived at the coffee shop, I took a moment to gather my thoughts. I needed to be direct and assertive, but also calm. I didn't want to let my emotions get the best of me. I wanted answers and nothing more. When Jake walked in, he looked a little different, more serious. He approached my table and we exchanged greetings. I could feel the tension in the air as I gestured for him to sit down. "Thanks for meeting me again," I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. "Not a problem. What's on your mind?" he asked, his expression sincere. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle on my shoulders. "I want to talk about what happened between you and Emily. I need to understand your side of things more clearly." He nodded, and I could see he was ready to be open. "I get it. When we started talking, I didn't realize how serious things were between you two. I thought you were having issues. I didn't mean to come between you, but there was a connection. You can't deny the fact that you pursued her, though. You knew she was married. You had to have some idea of the risks," I said, my voice steady. He leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his hair. "You're right, and for that I'm sorry. I crossed a line and I regret it. But I want you to know that I didn't force her into anything. She made her own choices." I felt a storm of anger rise within me, but I pushed back against it. "Yeah, she did, and that's what makes this so complicated." "I'm not here to make excuses," he said, meeting my gaze. "I just want you to know that I didn't set out to ruin your marriage. It just happened, and I wish it hadn't." After a pause, I leaned forward, my heart racing. "What does that mean for her moving forward? Are you still in contact? Is there anything lingering?" Jake shook his head. "No, we haven't talked since the last time we met. I think she's trying to figure out what she wants, and I respect that. I want her to be happy, but I don't think it can be with me." Hearing him say that brought a fresh wave of relief. It seemed like he understood the gravity of the situation and was willing to step back. "Thanks for being honest," I replied. I needed to hear that. As we wrapped up the conversation, I realized that this was the closure I had been searching for. I had confronted my fears head-on and gained clarity, not just about Jake, but about Emily and myself as well. I felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. When I returned home, I found Emily in the living room flipping through a book. She looked up and immediately noticed the change in my demeanor. "How did it go?" she asked, her voice laced with anxiety. "It went well. I think I finally got the answers I needed," I said, taking a seat next to her. Her eyes searched my face for any signs of distress, but I felt a sense of calm washing over me. "What did he say?" I took a moment, gathering my thoughts. "He regrets what happened and says he hasn't spoken to you since our last meeting. He recognizes the gravity of his actions." Emily nodded, relief evident in her eyes. "I'm glad to hear that. I promise I'm committed to us, Matt. I want to make this work." "I know," I replied softly. "And I want that too, but it's going to take time. I still have a lot of feelings to work through, and I need you to understand that. Trust is earned, not given." "I understand," she said, her voice steady. "I'm willing to do the work. I don't want to lose you." That night, as we went to bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were both at the beginning of a long and difficult journey. I still had moments of doubt and anger that lingered, but I also felt a glimmer of hope. I drifted off to sleep, reflecting on everything that had happened. I understood that healing would be messy, and there would be ups and downs. But I realized something important. I had the power to take control of my narrative, to focus on my healing, and to make choices that aligned with my values and desires. As I lay there, I thought about the countdown app that had triggered this whole ordeal. It had once felt like a looming deadline, a mark of impending doom. But now I saw it differently. The countdown was no longer just about the end of our marriage. It was about the opportunity for renewal, rebirth, and rebuilding. I was ready to embrace that journey, step by step. Whatever lay ahead, I was determined to face it with an open heart and an open mind. In that moment, I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me. Perhaps we could emerge from this stronger than before, even if the path to get there was fraught with challenge. In the end, I learned that love could survive even the deepest wounds, as long as both partners were willing to put in the effort to heal and grow together. And that realization, that dawning hope, was worth fighting for.